Welcome to the Meso History, unraveling the untidy truths of the past. Like and subscribe.
The FBI brought its vast resources to bear on the mystery. The investigation would become one of the longest and most complex in the Bureau's history. The first days were a whirlwind of activity. Agents swarmed the museum. They re-interviewed the guards over and over again. Rick Abath, Randy Heston. Every detail of their 81 minutes with the thieves was dissected. What did they look like? How tall were they? What did their voices sound like? Did they have accents? The guards' descriptions were the best lead they had. They described one man as being in his 30s, about 5'10", with a fake mustache. The other was older, in his 40s, taller, heavier. These vague sketches were the first faces of the phantom thieves. They were the starting point for a manhunt that would span decades. The FBI began to explore the museum's security systems, or rather, the lack of them. The Gardner's security was notoriously lax. There were no cameras recording the galleries. The motion detectors were old and unreliable. The only alarm button was at the main security desk. The thieves had quickly taken control of it. The museum was a soft target. It was a palace of treasures protected by little more than a lock and a key. The investigation looked at whether this was an inside job. Could one of the guards have been involved? Rick Abath, the guard who broke protocol and let the thieves in, came under intense scrutiny. His life was turned upside down. The FBI also looked at the printouts from the museum's motion detectors. These records showed the thieves' path through the museum. They moved with purpose, directly to the Dutch room. This suggested they had prior knowledge of the layout. They knew where the greatest treasures were. But the printouts also showed something strange. A single person was detected entering the Dutch room hours before the heist. After the heist, the thieves spent a long time in the director's office, though nothing was stolen from there. These small, confusing details were the first threads of a complex web. The FBI had a crime, but the motives and the culprits remained deep in the shadows. In the main office of the investigation, a large corkboard was set up. This became the visual heart of the case. In the center, photos of the 13 stolen artworks. Around them, a web of connections began to grow. Photos of potential suspects were pinned to the board. Red string connected names to places and theories to evidence. The board was a living document of the investigation's progress and its frustrations, a tangible representation of the sprawling, complex mystery. Names would appear, only to be taken down weeks later. A map of maybes and dead ends, a testament to the difficult road ahead. One early theory pointed at Boston's powerful criminal underworld. The heist seemed too organized for common thieves. The FBI turned to local mob figures. They looked at the Irish mob, led by James Whitey Bulger. They looked at the Italian-American Patriarca crime family. These groups had the resources and audacity for such a crime. Robert Bobby Guarente surfaced as a suspect, a known Patriarca associate, a hardened criminal with a reputation for violence.
Guarente has ties to the stolen art. Informants whispered Guarente had ties to the stolen art. His photo went up on the corkboard.
George Reisfelder soon joined Guarente on the board, a career criminal with a similar build to one of the thieves. He and Guarente were known associates. The FBI began to build a case around them. Could these two, with others, have pulled off the heist? The theory: the art was stolen as a bargaining chip to negotiate reduced sentences for jailed mobsters. The art was too famous to sell on the open market. Its value was leverage. The theory fit organized crime profile. Reisfelder and Guarente became prime suspects. But theories were not evidence. The FBI had to link these men to the crime. They interviewed countless informants. They dug into the criminals' lives, looking for any slip-up, any boast, any clue. They followed leads into the dark corners of Boston's criminal networks. The corkboard grew more crowded. More names were added. Carmelo Merlino, a garage owner and mob associate. Robert the Cook Gentile, an aging mafioso from Connecticut. Each name opened a new path for the investigation, a new hope for a breakthrough. The web of red string grew thicker and more tangled. The search for the art and the men who took it became a full-blown obsession. The investigation was a frustrating cycle of hope and disappointment. The FBI chased down thousands of tips. Every psychic, every jailhouse informant, every armchair detective had a theory. Most leads went nowhere. They led to storage lockers that were empty. They led to wild goose chases in other countries. The thieves had vanished without a trace, and the art seemed to have been swallowed by the earth. Investigators spent countless hours following up on rumors that the art was in Japan, South America, in the hands of a reclusive billionaire. Each lead had to be taken seriously. Each dead end was another blow to morale. One of the most promising early leads involved the Irish Republican Army. The theory was that the art had been stolen and shipped to Ireland. It would be used to finance the IRA's activities. This theory gained traction. It was plausible. The FBI worked with international law enforcement agencies. They tracked shipments. They monitored known IRA sympathizers in the Boston area. But after months of intense investigation, the trail went cold. There was no concrete evidence linking the heist to the IRA. It was another promising path that dissolved into nothing. The ghosts of the thieves were always one step ahead. The focus returned to the local mob connections. The FBI believed strongly that the art was still in the New England area. They believed figures like Bobby Guarente, George Reisfelder were involved. But both men died within a year of the heist. Reisfelder died of a suspected drug overdose. Guarente died of cancer. If they knew where the art was, they took the secret to their graves. The investigation had lost its two prime suspects. It was a major setback. The red strings on the corkboard now led to dead men. The hope of a confession, or of catching them with the art, was gone forever. Years turned into a decade. The original investigators grew older. Some retired. New agents took over the case, inheriting the massive files and the weight of public expectation. The case never went cold. It remained an active priority investigation for the FBI. They would periodically hold press conferences, offering huge rewards for information. They would release new age-progressed sketches of the suspects. But the results were always the same. A flurry of new tips would come in. Hopes would be raised. And then, silence would descend again. The Gardner heist became a legend, a ghost story. The investigation was no longer just a hunt for art. It was a battle against time itself. As the investigation plodded forward, the city of Boston developed a unique relationship with the crime. The stolen paintings became local legends. Their images were everywhere: posters, billboards, newspapers. The slogan, "Have you seen this art?" was a constant presence. The museum did not replace the stolen works. Empty frames hung on the walls. Close-up of an empty frame. Visitors studying the empty frames. The empty frames. Placeholders. Hope. A wound that would not heal. The public was captivated. The heist became folklore. Everyone had a theory. The art was buried under a garage in Dorchester. It was hidden in the wall of a house in Connecticut. It was sitting in a Swiss bank vault. The story had Hollywood elements: a daring crime, priceless treasures, shadowy mobsters, a mystery that endured. Amateur sleuths dedicated their lives. Journalists wrote books. Documentary filmmakers made films. The Gardner heist became an industry. The public's appetite was insatiable. For the FBI, it was a blessing and a curse. It meant more resources and more pressure. But it also generated a mountain of false leads and distractions. In 2013, there was a major breakthrough, or so it seemed. The FBI held a press conference. They announced that they had identified the thieves. They pointed to a criminal organization with ties to New England. They mentioned suspects who were now deceased. But they still did not know where the art was. The announcement was a bombshell, but it led to no arrests and no recovery. The city of Boston and the art world continues to wait. The reward for the art's return now stands at $10 million. No questions asked. The offer is a desperate plea for someone, somewhere, to break the silence. The FBI believes the art has changed hands several times over the years. They believe someone alive today knows where it is. the story is not over. The empty frames still hang in the Gardner Museum, silent witnesses to the crime. They are a promise to the stolen masterpieces, a promise that they have not been forgotten. The city holds its breath, hoping that one day, the ghosts of the Gardner heist will finally give up their secrets. The most persistent theory revolves around a local crew of career criminals. This was not the work of sophisticated international art thieves. It was not a plot hatched by a shadowy billionaire collector. The FBI, after years of digging, came to believe the heist was orchestrated by a Boston-based criminal organization. The prime suspects were connected to the Patriarca crime family, a powerful mafia presence in New England. This theory suggests the thieves were tough, experienced criminals, but they were not art experts. They were good at breaking and entering, intimidation, and staying quiet. Their goal was not to admire the art, but to use it as a high-value bargaining chip for their associates in prison. The names that anchor this theory are Robert Guarente, George Reisfelder, and Carmelo Merlino. They were all known mob associates. They fit the profile. Merlino owned a car repair shop in Dorchester, a place the FBI believed was a hub for planning criminal activities. Informants claimed to have seen Merlino with one of the stolen pieces, the Napoleonic eagle finial. George Reisfelder matched the physical description of the taller, older thief. Robert Guarente was a seasoned, feared figure who was rumored to have had possession of the paintings after the heist.